Good evening, cult members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And welcome to our review of Jojo Rabbit, our 682nd review we've done in the last 3 weeks.
Yes. Might be 683.
It might be. Yeah, that will be the next one we do. This is going to be, I guess, non-spoiler review. There's stuff that I want to talk about in this movie, but it's not really a spoiler.
Okay.
Not spoilery.
I've been trying not to sneeze for like a minute now. Okay, I'm back.
It's live. We'll do it live. So here's our review, minus the sneezes, of Jojo Rabbit. I want to start off by saying I really like this movie. I really love this movie.
Yes.
I am all the hype, everything you've heard about this movie, all of it is 100% correct.
Yep. Taika knows how to direct.
Imagine that. He's not just a funny man. He can actually direct.
Yeah.
And he can do something as silly and adventure-y as Ragnarok and turn around and take that same kind of sensibility but tell a serious story about bullying, which is essentially what this story is about. It's just wrapped in a Nazi Germany wrapper.
Well, I mean, you could say that Hitler was kind of the ultimate bully.
Right.
You know, you either do it my way or
I have the Gestapo to come in and the SS to come in and tell
take you away.
Yeah. And you can believe in whatever religion you want as long as it's my religion.
Right.
You know? And so, but I just, I've been thinking about this movie the last couple of days. We went and saw it on Thursday.
Yep.
And I've spent a lot of time with this in my head. And as much as I love this movie, I don't know if it's even one of my favorite movies of the year.
Really?
Now, hot take, it might be what we saw the second night this last week that I think got more of my attention because that's more of my wheelhouse, which was Ford versus Ferrari, which is our next review.
Okay.
But I really, really like this movie. I think it's amazingly done. I think it's directed beautifully. The acting by the kids is next level good, and all the adults are good.
Taika is hysterical as Hitler.
There's lines there that that's a line there that you don't think you'd hear.
Right.
Hitler was hilarious.
Right.
But actually, it's funny on IMDb they have him listed as Adolf.
Right, because he never calls him Hitler.
Right.
He calls him Adolf.
Adolf. Yeah. I just happened to catch that when we were looking at it. But Sam Rockwell is amazing, and Alfie Allen is amazing, and Rebel Wilson. Rebel Wilson is allowed to be Rebel Wilson, but she's also like she's the random character in the background who just like steps into a scene, says a line, everybody kind of looks at her and then looks at the camera, and then she walks off screen, and it's perfect. It's perfect.
Usually her line involves an inappropriate use of a gun, too. Right. She's always got a gun. Are we going to use the gun? Here, give the gun to the child.
I like the way that they set up the story, too, that the Jojo, who's played by Roman Griffin Davis, this is his very first role.
Yep.
He's never acted, at least in a credible, accredited movie or TV
his only
show.
Credit on IMDb.
As right now. Setting him up as one of the children Nazis that are being indoctrinated at a young age to further on the Third Reich and stuff like that. And, and setting it up and telling the story from that point of view and having him, as he goes along, learn the truth about what the Nazis are.
Right.
I think that telling that story that way is actually really, really well thought out, because telling the story a different way, especially with the current atmosphere within our country, it's that's why I said it's a movie about bullying wrapped in a German Nazi propaganda kind of thing. But it's just I think if they would have tried to do it a different way, it would have been probably harder for audiences to connect with this movie.
Yeah, and I mean, we heard a lot about this movie, but not like I went in it thinking the story was completely different than what it was.
Right.
I thought that he was kind of the outcast in the Nazi Hitler
camp.
youth camp,
The Hitler,
and
I think they were actually called the Hitler Youths.
Yeah,
but
yeah. And he sort of was, but then like he is the hardcore bought in line
Yep.
and sinker Hitler youth, and I kind of thought it was the other way around. So that was cool that I didn't know what this movie
Right,
is
no.
really about.
And they did a good job of marketing this movie, but not telling you anything that was going to happen.
Right, and what they did tell you, I mean, at least for me, led me in a completely different direction. I thought of it more as, I kept trying to think of what the name of that movie was. It was very odd, about the, like, Boy Scouts and,
Yeah, I think I know what you're trying to talk about. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
If you're online, just like
tell
be
us
nice
what
and tell what it is.
what the name of that movie. I mean, I watched it. I didn't like it. I thought I didn't like it. But
Yeah.
it was Bill Murray maybe was in it, and they all like went off, and it was
Yeah, I know what you're
very
talking
odd.
about. I can't think of what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the performances, like I said, are amazing. But the ability to have fun, tell jokes, make you feel for Jojo, for Elsa, for Rosie, who is Scarlett Johansson. She's Jojo's mom. Like to have the fun and the silliness and the humor, and then on a dime make you bawling, crying, was a shock to me.
Yeah,
But
it was.
a good shock. Like I'm not upset about it.
Yeah, the timing was very interesting, and that was probably the first thing we talked about when we got out.
Yeah.
Was how, 1 second you're laughing because Taika, as Adolf has said something or done something, hysterical, and then like, the next minute you feel uncomfortable in the fact that you were just laughing because now
Yeah.
it is super uncomfortable or sad or
Yeah.
and
And
that's-
you almost feel guilty, but that was the point of the way. At least that's how I took it. That was the point of the way he laid it out.
yeah, it's just very odd timing. Usually they kind of let the laugh go for a little bit and then
But this is not
And the
necessarily a comedy. That's the thing that I think a lot of people were struggling with early on when they were talking about this movie. Is this movie is not it's a funny movie, but it's not a comedy.
underlying story is definitely not
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, and I think that particular scene is kind of and I'm just kind of this is just coming to my head, so I'm kind of working through it in my head, but it's a visual representation of what war is. We're fine, we're living our life, we're okay, and then something happens and everything in a drop of a dime, in a drop of a bucket, or whatever, however the line is. I got all my eggs in my basket ironed out. That all changes on a second.
Yeah.
And the reality of what's going on outside the world, the war is there and it's outside, but now it's on your front porch.
Yeah.
And I think that's a visual representation within the movie. And from that, when that particular scene happens, moving on, there's a slow build back up to it's okay to laugh again and adventure and do stuff. And that's kind of, what dealing with. I'm just realizing this is not a bully movie. This is a war movie. How to deal with war and being inside of it. And that's the good thing about this movie is that it has all these different layers to it.
Yeah.
And
there's a big, not a spoiler, but there's a big war-like scene, I guess you would say, towards the end. And as you're watching, all this destruction, and then Sam Rockwell and Alfie Allen's characters come flying through the screen, and you just start laughing again, and you're like, this is horrible and funny all at the same time.
Yeah. It's I'm now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I liked it a lot more than I thought. This is why you have these discussions. Let's give it a. There's two things that I want to. There's two things. I'm just gonna say this now. Kiss, just kiss. Somebody just kiss. You know what I'm talking about. Just kiss.
Oh,
just do it. That and there's a scene that Scarlett Johansson does in this movie that is, oh my God, next level. And I hope she gets a nomination for either this or Endgame or Marriage Story, like one of the three, because what she's showing right now in her depth as an actor is so good. But that particular scene is amazing.
Yeah, it's very drama class.
It's very drama class, but not like cheesy drama class, like Barry, like kind of cheesy drama class. So,
no, it was good.
Skewer.
I'm going to give it a 4.
I'm at a 4. Not that I wasn't going to give it a 4 before.
Oh, okay.
I of the movies I've seen this year, this is one of the better movies I think we've seen all year, but it's probably not one of my favorite movies of the year.
It might be in my top 10, I think. Top 10, I think it's definitely in there. Top 5 is a little
It's going to be
iffy,
hard. It's going to be hard right now.
And we're going to have to revisit everything and kind of think
once
about
we get close to
how
the
we
end
feel.
of the year,
Yeah.
And like we got 1917 coming, and I know that's going to grab me and stuff. So let us know what you thought of Jojo Rabbit in the comments. If you're on the podcast feed, please subscribe to the podcast feed. If you're on YouTube, subscribe on that, or whatever the word is. It starts with an S.
Subscribe.
Help us on a Patreon. We're also on all the social media stuff, Facebook, Instagram, where all that information is in the description down below. And if we don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.